Okay, we're back. And we're going to reflect on this earlier video. I find reflecting to be helpful to me just so I can process my thoughts, but also talk better to myself in the past. Um, so think of this as future Brady talking to present Brady. Here we go. Look at this messy hair. Messy hair. Messy hair. It's okay, Brady. Okay, here we are. We're back again and we're talking. It's been, I think, 9 days since my last video I made. Um, I don't know what I'm going to talk about right now. I'm just kind of going into it, just letting my voice out. And this isn't necessarily if you want to watch, it's great. I'm trying to just practice talking out loud and being comfortable sharing my voice. So if you're watching along, appreciate you. Um, I don't know where this is going to go, but I was thinking about this. Where do original ideas or thoughts come from, right? Like what's that mean? Like where do we get these thoughts? And what's the voice in our head? And where is that taking us? And I think it's if we're asking the right questions to get to the solution, we'll eventually find something unique. Because we all have our own path that we've been on and conditioned in our environments as we were growing up to be who we are today. And I think if we ask the right questions and I think invert ideas, which I can get into, we can find something different. So here's an example, and this might be, I'm not saying this is true for anyone. So I'm not a Christian, but I believe the idea of Jesus is true to the point where this could be blasphemy. But we'll go for it because I'm not afraid of that. Because I'm not disrespecting the religion. I'm just trying to frame it in a different way for people to understand or empathize with Jesus. Since I believe that many of the followers that are MAGA do not empathize with this man or understand his message, and they just bow down to Trump instead, which apparently is working out pretty well for them. Anyways, so I have this idea. I'm not saying it's true, but I never heard anyone say this before. Imagine Mary understanding the power of belief and how we can project that onto people to manipulate is not the best word, but to help people reach a different perspective on life. Maybe perhaps Mary was incredibly smart and saw the world and it could be better. So she crafted a lie and got people behind it that she was going to have the Son of God. And luckily, she had a boy. Because I was wondering if she had a girl, how would this go, right? I literally thought about that this morning. I'm like, well, if she had a girl, maybe they made it work. But I'm like, what if boobs were a thing? How would they hide the boobs? And this is dark, but I don't even talk about it, Brady. So maybe she was taking a chance. Who knows? Perhaps I've heard that women can like eat something specific to have a boy or a girl, but I think that's just kind of, I don't know if that's true or not. So I don't know. But imagine, okay, so Mary lied, saying she was gonna have the Son of God. She got people on board with it, and she was able to convince a mass group of people to be on board with this. And how does that work, Brady? Well, I don't know. I'm just saying maybe it happened. But imagine, I'm not saying this is actually happening. I'm just trying to frame it in such a way for us to think about Jesus growing up in that environment where you're born and the only thing you've ever known is that you're the Son of God. And what if they were just a regular human like us? Jeez. Us? Jeez. Us? Jeez. Us? Right. So imagine, and look, I go here for a reason. Imagine empathizing with this person, that everyone projects their belief that this person is divine and higher. And what does that mean for that person to go through life and navigate it? And would they ever doubt themselves? Or would they ever be like, well, I don't understand. I don't have this power. But then they start believing. Or maybe they don't doubt themselves because other people are trying to project their belief onto them. And where does that take an individual? right? What are we capable of as human beings? And if one person was a human, born as a human, and had the Holy Spirit within them, right? Because that's what Jesus is, and had God guiding them, what does that mean? And perhaps we can rethink about this in different ways to understand Christianity. I had this thought this morning. It's like, okay, so where do voices in our heads come from, right? Like, how do we know it's our voice, right? We're told it's our voice, perhaps, or we convince ourselves it's our voice because we seem to have control over it, perhaps. But maybe we're just aware that it's happening, and perhaps we don't know if that's our voice or not. And this is where we can get delusional, right? But I think these ideas it's like believing in a story and getting you to another location, and being and behaving in such a way where you can be better, I guess. So imagine I've heard that from Vsauce, Michael Stevens here. I think that's it. Michael Stevens is his last name.
Yes.
He was explaining how he believes the Bible is just the origin story of consciousness. And I think we have to be very careful about being like atheist or people more scientifically minded to thinking we know everything when we don't. I mean, I don't think a lot of people think we know. I mean, well, this okay. So I was having a debate, which I don't like. It's on my YouTube channel with the atheist on there, and he was just a know-it-all. And people come across as know-it-alls when they're atheists, and this happens with theists too. But in this example, we have to be careful, and because we don't understand the brain very, very much as a collective, and in a way that I've heard compared to me understanding my own brain. I'm trying to get my brain out there just to like ping into space and try to find someone that connects with this and resonates with it so we can have a conversation. And I haven't been able to do that on TikTok yet, but I'm trying. But anyways, where's I getting at with this? So Michael Stevens thought it was the origin story of consciousness. So imagine, what if these voices in our heads, like, it was like new to us when we were aware. Like, maybe we just became aware. How did we become aware? I don't know. But how is it like, this is what's interesting about panpsychism, is it's the idea that everything has like a degree of consciousness, like from not conscious to being conscious to everything in between. And what makes and there's like a collective of something that becomes conscious. But the problem is, like, what is this stuff? Like, how does stuff come together? Like, multiple stuff with conscious, like the various levels of consciousness come together to actually be fully aware. And this is interesting because I don't think anyone, like, I think at times between people they're not fully aware of what they're thinking, and I think this is really interesting because, like, we can become more in tune with our body by being more aware of what we're doing. Like, I'm not even aware of what my hands are doing, and my legs are in a certain way, and I'm just talking, and I'm being vulnerable with my voice because I think it's coming from somewhere else. Isn't this great? I haven't had to talk for 8 minutes. In my previous videos, if you ever had a look at my videos, I'm usually guiding myself, but I'm very passionate about what I'm talking about right now and confident about what it is, and I'm speaking on it to the point where I don't even have to like interject and like have future Brady say anything to past Brady. And I think this is amazing, and let's keep watching, right? And why do I think that? Because why not? And it's something where I have control over my voice and how it's aligned because of my foundation. And if I just allow myself to just talk, I believe I can reach a conclusion and understand myself more and be more conscious. So I don't know if I explained panpsychism in the best way. I'm building on top of it in a way that makes sense to me. And I'm hoping how I explain things in such a way to you can resonate with you in such a way for you to be like, oh, well, I've thought about it in a different way, but it makes sense, and you put it into words that I wasn't able to put into words, and we can align, and we can come together, and we can unite and be in harmony. And that's all I want, is for people to be in harmony with each other, because I believe, damn it, we can do it. Isn't it crazy? Brady has such a wild, out there idea I mean, this is kind of what, as a child, what I wanted as in my family is to just have everyone get along. And I swear, so many people think about this too. There's a woman I know that does the same thing, and she sees her family, even though they were similar to mine, in some ways, and she still wants them to get along. I think that's a good thing, is seeing the good in people and wishing and hoping the best that they can get better. And I'm optimistic about it. And this is just the thing, the atheist. Like, I was trying to align with the atheist and trying to get us on the same page, but he just wanted to debate and he just wanted to be right. And I brought this idea up about harmony. And he's like, oh, look, in stories we craft ourselves to understand what we can be. And we just need to create a narrative that we all can get behind. That's universal. And he's like, oh, Brady thinks he just has the story for us to all be one. And I'm like, oh gosh darn it, you're not trying your best. And like, look, we can get to, I start with the original ideas, but I never heard that story about Mary lying, and I was trying to get to something else. So what I was trying to get to was, we can think about this with Michael Stevens being like the voice in our heads. It might perhaps be God, because when these people became aware, or more aware, maybe they were just like, yes, this is not my voice, this is God telling me that I should have the Son of God. And how does that work? And perhaps they're like, I need to lie. But perhaps we can think about it in such a way where God did, maybe if you're more aware, then maybe Mary was just at a level of just being like, whoa, powerful, where she was able to impregnate herself without another man. And perhaps, I don't know how this works. I'm just making up stuff right now, but I'm trying to understand Christianity and how that even works in the first place. Like, how does an egg become fertilized? An angel came down to Mary and told her, an angel. I'm trying to remember this story because I don't even know it 100%. And this is one of those things too about like talking about Christianity and not knowing it fully. I mean, I was born and raised a Catholic, and I think an angel came down to Mary telling her she was going to have a son. So maybe it wasn't God's voice, but maybe perhaps what we know in the Bible isn't accurate, right? It's all was word of mouth for years and years and years until it was written down. So I'm trying to frame these stories in such a way for me to understand it in my own way. And I have a friend in Jesus. I believe in the idea of Jesus, okay? Because and when I was bipolar, I was in Mania. And the first time I had it in 2022, I believed that like the devil was like really like in control of me. And it led to me like forgetting my name, like my head hurt, like it was aching in so many places. But I also believed I did have control over that like that force. I thought I performed a self-exorcism, and I got it on camera. I got it. I literally, it's wild. It's a wild time. But I didn't. It wasn't like I wasn't doing the video as I was doing the self-exorcism. But things were going on where emotions were intense. Like I seized in front of my talent manager on a Zoom call. But look, it literally scared myself I scared myself so much. The feelings I was feeling, I didn't understand the feelings. And so I applied a significant thing to it. And I thought it was evil force. And if I thought it was an evil force, then it was. And it became that. And it hurt. And this is one thing too. I wonder, there's a woman I know that dissociates. And life is difficult for her because of that. And I'm wondering if like she wasn't like taught like how to how do I say this in the best way? Like putting words to it, or like understanding the feelings, and that it's okay to feel emotions, and it's just the body indicating something to you. And I would like to talk with her more, just to understand her. Where do I go here, Brady? Because I was saying, God, devil, whoever gets to me first can have me. And it was very chaotic, and I was going through a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings and just intense state of mind. And I went to the point where like I was in deep thought and trying to think about different ideas in such a way. I'm like, what would it be like to be Jesus, right? to imagine what that might be. In Mania, I thought things were playing similarly, like I thought things were similar to his story, but in the modern time. And two police officers show up at my door, and I swear that happened in the Bible. It did not. I looked it up. I reflected on this earlier, and nothing about two soldiers coming into Jesus' door, ring a bell. Jesus, I don't know. It just something in my head is telling me that happened, which makes me think, why? And do I know that two police officers or two soldiers showed up to Jesus's? I don't know. But something told me that this happened, because like police officers showed up and I had a talk with them, and because my sister called them on me, and for a reason, just to check up on me because she was afraid and worried, and I understand that. And like things were just happening in such a way for like the voice in my head to apply meaning to everything I could possibly think of without knowing it was true or not. And this is where, projection of belief is dangerous, because I thought I was on a Netflix TV show. That wasn't happening, but it led me to act in certain ways for me to find out about other things and how humans behave. And what I'll say is this, which makes me wonder, like the idea of God is so complex, but each person subjectively understands that in their own way, or either it's just because of other people telling them. But it makes me wonder, like, if we actually believed in this, like, what would the world be instead of pretending we believe it? Because I don't know. What do I mean by that, Brady? Well, it's a critique on Christianity, and you're supposed to walk in Jesus' footsteps, right? But we're all sinners, and Brady, what are we getting at here? See, this is where I don't know why I brought that up in the first place. Let's just keep listening. I'm going to try to get back to that idea about a nurse that I petrified. But anyways, I'm going to get to my original idea, where I was talking about, gosh darn it, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, no, Brady. Oh yeah, what was I going to say about that? What I was just talking about, like believing in God, like say it's 1, 2, 3, and to really understand God is going to 1, 2, 2, 3, right? But what's that mean? What's that mean in between? Like, are we going from 1 to 3 without knowing, making a knowledge claim without knowing? Or how can we go from 1, 2, 3? Does that make sense to anyone? I'm trying to explain it with numbers. But if we really, truly had the values and we weren't astray, does that make any sense? Like, what would that be if we all collectively understood that? And how can we correct people and fine tune their minds in real time? And that's kind of what I'm doing with performance theater in a way. When I was in Mania and testing people out, I was sort of seeing what was reality, right, and what we all perceived. And Brady, we can just let Brady keep talking because we don't want to make this video too long. Remember. I'm just like put on the spot right now, and I'm like, oh my god, I was doing so good, and now I'm like in my head about where am I going to go? But we can get back to it, Brady. So if we just ramble out loud, we'll get back to it. So maybe we'll talk about the story of the nurse. So in 2022, I empathize. So, okay, I remember it now. So empathizing with Jesus, I thought I was on a path of being like Jesus, but not Jesus, right? Where I would be like, I would risk my life, like sacrifice my life for the betterment of everyone or as many people as possible. And I thought I was gonna be betrayed by someone close to me, and that would lead to my death. That would be brutal. And I had the choice to pick between two options: go that route and save as many people as possible, or do not do anything and don't continue at all. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna pick the more courageous path. And this is like this is me seriously believing I was gonna be betrayed and like brutally like killed, like however that would happen. And I picked it, and I'm like, I want the best for people, and I'll sacrifice my life for them. And what does that mean? when these ideas are flowing into my brain, for me to like choose this to do what I am doing, like I'm not Jesus, I'm not God, but I am just a human trying to understand my reality right now because it's being warped. And this is the interesting thing about like Mania, for one, because I actually take my beliefs and I believe them, which I think a lot of Christians, if like I'm doing the same thing as like Christ or like anyone that believes in God, like they're essentially delusional too. I guess I explained it better here than what I did in the past with me just speaking it. But yeah, it is a delusion in a sense because we can't prove it to others. Like and it's not up to me to prove it to anyone else. But in my life, I see signs that is like, okay, let's apply meaning to that, and it helps me get through things. If that makes any sense. Because we can't prove God, but they choose to believe in them still. I can't prove that I'm on a Netflix TV show, but it's most likely the case that I'm not. And I wasn't because no one told me I was, unless there are actually hidden cameras. But where did that idea come from, Brady? So it's interesting. It's really interesting. I'm not saying I'm on a Netflix TV show, by the way, but I believed it heavily in Mania, which led me to behave in certain ways, to think in certain ways, and to feel in a lot of ways in Mania. So I was with my family and friends in Los Angeles, and ambulance came and they took me to a hospital. And at this time, I still thought I was on a Netflix TV show, just talking out loud, letting my thoughts just go, because it's I'm trying to connect with people, and it comes out chaotic but funny and silly, and but it's a serious matter. So if a family member, like a certain family member I know, heard me say something funny, they would not perceive it as funny because they think I'm sick or not right in the head. So they don't understand it compared to someone else that might be like, what? Like they're already disengaged. But anyways, I go to a hospital and I'm like just I think I'm in an escape room at this point. Like I'm in my room that they gave me with a bed and a sink, and there's a window and a door to the left of me, and I'm like just testing things out. Like I have a wristband on that says my name. I'm like looking into numbers because like numbers were implanted in my mind, and I believe there's meaning to numbers now because of that person. But it's interesting because we can apply meaning to anything, and we can get to another place by applying meaning to something, if that makes any sense.
This is where I was getting at with the 1, 2, 3.
I'm on my wristband. I'm like, yeah, good numbers, whatever. And I'm like biting my bed. I don't know. I'm just testing out. I'm like seeing, is there a camera? And I bet there's like a microphone on my wristband because there's like a device looking thing on my wrist. Anyways, I go and pump some soap in my hand, and it foams out, and I eat it. And one of the nurses is like, "Ew, he's eating soap." And I quit back. I'm like, "Is that what you feed your kids when they talk back to you?" And I'm like just being chaotic. And my hair. Anyways,
Tame the hair.
I keep just being silly, and I think I hear my brother-in-law in the next room over coughing. I'm like, this guy is in the other room, and I'm seeing on the TV that there's things going on, and I believe I'm getting signs from whoever to do something scary. And I'm just in an experimental, when I'm in Mania, I'm in an experimental mode, and I'm testing out what I can do, because I'm with this newfound confidence in myself. I haven't always been confident. In Mania, I'm beyond confident, and I'm trying to test things out in such a way for me to understand my reality, and because it's so fun, it's euphoric feeling, and it's chaotic, but I open the door and I tell the nurses, "Hey, I'm about to do something scary, so if you guys want to shut the blinds or like turn your head, I just want to warn you guys. And like people are like kind of like I see concerned looks on the nurses, like what's gonna happen. And I pulled the sheet off my bed and I put it over my myself, and I stand up on top of my bed and I act like a ghost, like can levitate. I'm like, I'm gonna levitate, and obviously that doesn't happen. And it's kind of chaotic at this point. And that nurse that was like, "Ew, he's eating soap," she was back and she was like timidly singing a song about Jesus and the blood. And I forgot how it goes, but I joined in majestically because I remember the song from a youth group thing I went to with someone that was like babysitting us. And anyways, I majestically join in and I sing the song, and I guess chaotic. This is like everything that plays out from here is chaotic, and I start dancing in a weird way. I think I told this story on YouTube before, but I start like churning butter and then like putting my legs side to side, and then I show her my eyes. I would do that again because someone taught me that. It's another story, but I do the eye thing.
There we go.
And
It's amazing.
She's like I remember the next day I know she is just like petrified. She's pointing her finger at me. Well, I can't do the face. Jesus. But she's like, her mouth is open. She's pointing to me. She's not saying anything, and she's petrified. And I'm like, I petrified her. And two guys tackle me to the ground, and I get pinned down by 4 people. And I'm like, guys, like, I do a whole talk and spiel about, you've seen evil, haven't you? And you've seen evil, and you're not even looking at me, but you know you have. And I'm not trying to, like, look, this goes against what I was saying about evil existing in the first place. We ought to, look, I don't believe in evil, but other people do, so we have to fucking deal with it. It's a contradiction on purpose. If we view evil as a contradiction, we can get past the idea, and then we can understand what we can do about it. If that makes any sense, like we don't recognize it because we don't apply that word to humans, because that nurse did that to me. She was so scared. She was so scared that I was possessed, probably, or like in a state of like spirituality with having it being a negative force. I can almost guarantee that she thought I was evil in some capacity, and that gives me power, and that takes away from her, and it harms her. I can explain 2 other people that have called me evil. One of them was at Yard House, and I questioned her faith in God too much. But I was also in like, this has all happened in Mania, but I wasn't trying to be malicious about asking questions. I was just super curious and just trying to get her to understand how she knows this certainly. And what she did was, when she got, like, when that happened, when that moment happened, she became scared. And I didn't bring this up to her, but I told her my mom was not a great person, because we talked about our family and how we were brought up. And she was like, "You're evil. You're a devil, or like you're a demon, and like your mom taught you how to manipulate." And I didn't even like tell her about this. I wasn't even trying to manipulate her in the first place, but I got her to question her reality in such a way where she was able to express that she was scared in such a way, because she didn't have the answer. And it's okay not having the answer, but she reacted in such a negative way, and she affected herself because she applied evil to me. She is feeling bad because she says I'm evil. We don't do that. It takes away power. It takes away from you. It's like the idea of like duality, right? Like, we're not in a dual, we're in a wholeality. That's what I coin it as. I coin the term wholeality, as we are the human species, and I get into it in this video. But we literally, we should not look at each other in a negative way, because it leads to a lot of different things we can see in the world. It harms you if you do that. If you're bitter, figure out why. I'm not saying she was bitter, but if like people in the world I see on Reddit when I scroll through Reddit and doom scroll, they're like, yeah, Trump's an evil man, or like all these evil people, and dude, I don't even know if they even believe in a god, but like the word carries a lot of weight. It's like, be careful, because I would say bad or wrong, but if you say evil, it's not. It's really not that. We don't apply evil to humans because it harms you. And if you're bitter about the world, you might be rightfully so. Like, you might be right about why you feel that way, but it harms you more. The third person that called me evil was someone that was in my family, and this happened after I was in the hospital in 2022. I did not want to go back to Nebraska, but my family members did. And we were all in Los Angeles at this point. My dad and my sister, I'll just call them out, whatever. My dad and my sister were in Los Angeles, and they were in the hospital, and they're like, you should go back to Nebraska. I'm like, I really did not want to. I forgot if I said that, vocalized my thoughts out loud or not. I don't know if I did, but I thought I did. I don't know. And I don't know if I vocalized this. I kind of forgot. But I was still in mania, or in psychosis. They diagnosed me with acute psychosis. But I was in mania still. They gave me no medication, by the way. They just kept me in this place, and yeah, stories. And they didn't give me any medication. What? And I said that too. Okay. I did not want to go back to Nebraska, and I did anyways because my sister and my dad talked me into it. I'm like, whatever. And we were on the road, and I'm gonna get some water. 1 second. Sorry. While I'm drinking, I forgot to even talk about the story here. I realized I didn't even talk about the story.
We're in my car, by the way, with all my belongings in it.
So we'll get to it.
And I'm kind of, well, before we're in my car, I'm kind of testing my family members out anyways, because I'm feeling so good, and I don't understand why they came to visit me in the first place, because I don't think anything is wrong with myself, right? In Mania, I don't think anything is wrong. And I'm like, why are you guys being in such a way like this? And I'm just testing them out. And we at my apartment, we start packing things up, and I was wearing my sandals, and they're all dirty. And I give my dad my sandals. I'm like, you can wash my sandals, right? And I was just like, I was kind of taunting him in a way, or just saying things in such a way that, it's not disrespectful, but just kind of toying with him in such a way, because I got him to admit he was jealous of me in when I was abusing edibles before this, in a high state of mind. But I think I was in mania, and not I was not under the influence of substances. Okay, let's talk about the story, so we can come back to the jealousy point. But essentially, in my car, we pack up all my stuff, and it's my dad, my sister, and me in the car. And at first, my sister is in the driver. She was driving my car, and I'm in the passenger seat. I put my Spotify on, and I'm like, all right, if we have a song that speaks to us, let's add it to a playlist. And I would put songs on, and I was kind of in a taunting mode. Like, I was just like testing, but I was like, let's just see how far I can push both of them, which I know wasn't right, and obviously now it's not right. And but I was just kind of in a playground at this point, like just playing around with anything. And the song "Stranglehold" comes on, and I planted this idea in my sister's mind. And I'm like, Ted Nugent is an evil man. Like, he's very far right, and like he has opinions about things that I don't agree with. But like, he's an evil man. And the song in "Stranglehold," it says bitch. It has the bitch word in it. The bitch word. And I'm like talking to my sister. Is this what your my brother-in-law thinks of you, Kaylee? Sorry, Kaylee. I'm sorry. I said your name, but like, really, I was just like taunting her and trying to get into her head. Because I really did not want to. Like, at this point, I really did not want to go back to Nebraska, and I wanted to just make them this sounds bad, but I wanted them to regret them coming down in the first place, because I wasn't feeling bad, and I know I'm wrong for this, but I was not feeling bad, and I was just like, why are people reacting in such a negative way, right? And I understand it now, I do. Um, but anyways, we go to a gas station, and my dad switches to drive, and I was gonna use his phone to play Spotify through it, and I noticed that my stepmom was on the line, and I thought this was, not right. I thought they were just like being sneaky and like having her listening on what we're saying, and I was already taunting my dad a lot and just saying stuff, and I he when we drove past Las Vegas, he pointed out Trump Tower, and I'm just like, yeah, fucking greedy, and I just like quipped things back to him, or he put some chewing tobacco in his mouth, and I put some, and I asked him if I could have some, and man, the temptation to get that again. But that's another story. I've just quit on that. I've quit. I talked myself out of, like, I know I negotiated with future Brady to never get chewing tobacco again, because it's bad. But anyways, I did that, and anyways, I'm just like taunting my dad more. I get more negative vibes from my dad. My sister, I can tell she's nervous while she's driving, because she's just like very stiff, and I can see it in her face that she is worried about what's going on. Anyways, once we get to the gas station, they switch, and I see my stepmom on the call. I talk to her in a very bad way, and I apologize for saying those words to you, stepmom. And it was mean, but I felt like I was being not respected back. But obviously, why Brady would you feel that way if you're already just like being such a way to them, right? And look, I'm not the good guy in the story. And so to my sister, I planted the idea of evil in her mind. Like, this guy's evil, the Ted Nugent. And we're driving down the road, and my dad is driving, and he's more being like controlling. Well, what do you mean by like Brady? Let's just get to the point. So I get the vibe where I just don't want to go back to Nebraska, and I'm like, let's turn the car around. I don't want to go. And obviously, we keep going one way, and so I escalate it and put my hand on my own steering wheel, but I wasn't going to yank it or turn it or anything. I was in control of this, and I put my hand on the steering wheel for my dad to pull over, and he keeps driving and keeps driving and keeps driving, and my sister in the back seat tells me, or cries out, that I'm evil, and that's sad. It's just sad. And eventually, my dad pulls over, and uh, and we're on the side of the road, and he has my arm in his hand, and I'm trying to get out of my car. I have the door open, and I'm trying to get out of his grasp, and I finally get out of his grasp, and I run to the back of the car and run maybe like, I don't know, 20 feet away from it. Hold both of my hands up top, passing cars. And this is the shitty thing, is the highway, or the interstate, or I think it was the highway, got closed down. Like, people called the cops or something like that, or someone was notified the cops, and they closed down the road, and cars were just waiting. Like, I caused cars to sit on the fucking interstate or highway, and ambulance came, or I rode. Did I ride in a police car? No, I rode in an ambulance, and they took me to a hospital. And so, look, my sister called me evil, and I can understand why. Throughout that first time being in Mania in 2022, I put her through a lot. I put her through so much. I remember being on a call with her, and I was crying, and I was like really emotional about well, it was when I think it was, what was going on in the world? Something was going on in the world, and I wasn't liking it, and I kept on talking about it and being emotional about it. And then I kept on repeating to myself about what I do when I wake up in the morning, as if I'm like talking to something else. Anyways, I'm not really explaining this in the best way, but I put her through a lot, and she called me that. In 2023, I got into mania again. I abused. Well, I took edibles and I was off medication, and I was living with her and my brother-in-law, and I posted on Facebook again, and look, I'm the bad guy in this story, right? But I'm trying to tell people and teach them how to respond to people in mania, so nothing bad happens. And I at this point I didn't think I was evil. In 2022, I thought part of me was, but then I didn't, and I got out of that mindset after seizing and after forgetting my name. And in 2023, I thought other people were influenced by it, and I thought that worrying was a sin. And I posted on Facebook just something just to see what's gonna go on, and I didn't do this only for my sister. I believed what I posted was gonna be helpful for other people in whatever way it could, but it was chaotic, and I don't think it probably helped anyone. But anyways, my sister comes to my door, and I can just see the worry in her face. Like, she's obviously afraid. And the first thing I hear from her, and this is Kaylee, you got to understand. You got to understand. This is coming from a place of love, because I understand how you can reach this conclusion, okay? But she said this in a judgy way. I thought you were not going to post on Facebook like that anymore. That's where you messed up, Kaylee. I'm the one that caused this, right? So I'm the one to blame. But you don't react back. Don't do that. Do not judge and be worried. I understand why you said that, but we never even made that contract in the first place. I never even told you I was never going to post on Facebook again. But you said, I thought you were not going to post on Facebook like that again. And that makes me react. So I leap back, and I'm like, be not afraid, be not afraid. And that doesn't help. And so, since I thought worrying was a sin, I thought that the devil was in control of her. Or not in control, but like, he was like influencing her in such a way. So I got experimental. And when I'm in mania, I experiment. And I'm a man of science. And so I'm testing things out on people. So I place my middle finger on her chakra, on her, this one right here, on her forehead. And I command the devil to get out of her, which was traumatizing and not good. And I ended up grabbing her wrist somehow. I forgot when or why, but it's kind of a blur at this point. When it gets chaotic, things start to blur. I grabbed her arm and it bruised later on. And then I ended up being in another room with my brother-in-law holding me. And like I was, he kind of like grabbed me. I wasn't trying to be violent, but violent things happened. And he literally had his hand on my penis, and I'm like, I just kind of fucking, it was chaotic. Like, he wasn't like grabbing it on purpose, like he was on an accident as he's grabbing me around. And I call it out and says, oh yeah, you grabbed you got touching my penis. And I'm like, I'm just, at this point, everything is a joke. Everything is a fucking joke. I'm like, why are people reacting in such a way when I don't feel, when I'm not in a negative space, right? And, after they get downstairs, I play easy on my piano. I'm easy like Sunday morning, just go at it. And yeah, because that song is a great song, and it spoke to me, and it speaks to me as in the situation that I was in. And then the police officers came, and like I was trying to explain to them what was going on, but in mania, there's so much stuff going on, it's hard to really just put it straight. And they didn't understand what I was saying, and I thought it was a waste of time. So I go outside. I literally go outside and start blessing cars because I thought I could, but it was really just to do something productive, and I thought that was more productive than trying to talk to two cops that I couldn't get through to. And
I literally get into the street and like I'm guiding them along. I don't go all the way into the street. I stepped onto the side of the street, like maybe a foot or two off the side of the street. And literally later on in the police reports, they said that I ran into the street. And guess who perpetuated this lie? My sister did. My sister did. She said I ran into the street. Literally last year, when we were talking about Mania, she said, Brady, you ran into the street. I'm like, you don't know that. I never did that. And then she's like, I even got it on video. I'm like, okay, send me the video. And the funny thing is, she still sends me the video, even though I never ran into the street. It's interesting what people perceive when they're scared, and it goes against what they think. And this happens many times. I in 2025 in 2025 I literally was at my work, and I was trying to teach things to people to not react in fear. And this is my whole point, my whole like thesis is to not react negatively in fear. Do not act in fear when you don't have to, when there's nothing to be afraid of. And if there is something to be afraid of, be curious, be understanding, open minded, so you can understand not to be afraid of it. And look, I was told, like in the reports, that I claimed I was God. I never said that. It's so fucking amazing how many times in the reports, like shit happens that I never have done. Like for instance, and I was taken to a hospital last year after the work incident happened, which is another story. And I was evaluated by a person on Zoom, and so I do a little puppet dance. I do a puppet show for her, because at this point it's like I can't get my message across to people, and they're not, and I'm trying to be in such a way, and it makes sense to me with what I'm doing in Mania. It doesn't make sense to everyone else, which is why people need to be curious instead of judging and just reacting negatively. And I know it's hard. I'm not trying to put the blame on you guys, but with her, this lady on the Zoom call, I didn't get through, and I was trying to have her be more curious. I was trying to, and I kind of got, not really aggressive, but I'm like, I kind of, what I don't even know how I was saying things. But anyways, I get lunch at this hospital, and I get an orange juice cup, and I open it up, and then there's a plastic fork I dip in, and I try to like yank the fork and get it to get a drop to fly into my mouth, and that's not working. And so there's like a droplet on the fork of orange juice. And I'll hold it up to the light, and I step on top of a chair, and I hold it up to the light about 6 inches, and I just kind of look at the droplet, because like I'm in an observational mode, and I'm pretending to be like a kid for the first time, like everything is new, and I'm pretending to do that so I can understand the world in a different way. And this is where I become a storyteller in a way, like to entertain myself in this moment, but also to understand the world in such a way that's different. And I was told to get off the chair, which was interesting. And anyways, this is where this story ends. And a couple weeks or a week later, and I was in a hospital. Well, later that day, I was in a hospital. But anyways, I go to court on Zoom at the hospital, and the same lady that evaluated me told the story of the fork, saying that I stuck it into a light fixture. And she was like going off about how she's like, yeah, well, good thing it wasn't a metal fork, because God knows what would happen then. And I didn't have any way to even defend myself in this place. People are perpetuating lies and exaggerating what happened so it fits their narrative. This happens in so many situations. We ought to seek the truth, and we ought to be careful what we perpetuate when we don't know or haven't been there. And this lady is a fucking idiot, and she's a doctor. I'm sorry, but literally, I think some people get into these positions, like being a doctor or a psychiatrist, because they're so fucking scared of like people in these out of like control. They might be out of control, but I am not out of control when I'm in Mania. It's just the stories I tell myself I believe in such a way where I act in a way. Like I can explain too, but look, I'm already going way over with what I was trying to explain. It just like it lights a fire under me because like we can definitely deal with people in these states of mind in a much better way, and I'm trying to educate people on that, and that's part of this mission is to be more curious, open-minded, and understanding, and you'll be fucking golden to deal with anything that comes at you. So when it comes to a person that I've traumatized, I'm sorry, Kaylee, but she told me she has PTSD because whenever I post on Facebook or whatever. And you know what? I at this point, you're doing it to yourself, Kaylee, and I'm sorry. Because look, I gave my sister a chance after 2023. Um, uh, I well, if I did something impulsive or different, my sister would blame me, not blame me, but she would think I'm in mania. On my birthday, I went out to the bar and I drank, and she claimed I was in mania. That hurts me, Kaylee. And like, I get it. I get you're concerned and worried, and you don't want that to happen again. I've traumatized you, but this is where it gets complicated because I am the person that ruined like I started this all. But there's good things that came out of Mania that helped me out today, and you must understand me and why I think in a certain way. And if you think I'm evil, if you really think I'm evil, which I don't think you do, Kaylee, but you called me that, and I'm trying to remind you that you called me that because subconsciously you're doing it to yourself. You're making yourself feel in such a way that you literally, your nervous system sends you signals to be in fear. Check it out. Get it under control and call me. I believe I was in Mania and I called him. And I'm like, I accused him of being jealous. And he's like, yes. And that just put me in such a way. I'm like, you fucking coward. That was in 2022 when I was calling people cowards on Facebook because I believed, I'm going all over the place, but I believed that I reached a conclusion that not a lot of people have in their own life about being courageous with my voice in such a way where I can hopefully help people out. I know it was chaotic in Mania. It just didn't turn out the way I planned. But with the whole idea of the Jesus story, and I don't, like, if people understood that story in such a way, I think they would respond to me differently in that state of mind. And what do I mean by that, Brady? It's this. Fear is the root cause of all unnecessary suffering. If the individual can eradicate fear from the mind, they can lead more productive and fulfilling lives. I talked to my sister, and sorry, Kaylee, you're on my mind. I shared this with her last year, and some of these findings I found on myself is good, and I share this with her, but she becomes defensive, and she's like, and Brady, you're not perfect. Essentially, that's what she says. She's like, well, you don't eat enough, or like you're not working out enough. Like, Keely, it's like that's not the point. I'm trying to show you that I found something that's true for me and it's helped me out. And she literally, like, I'm sorry, I'm making this family drama right now, but I'm trying to reach you, Kaylee, and you're literally not you're not wanting to, which is fine. So I'm not afraid to expose our family on social media, on YouTube, on TikTok, because you four have hurt me in ways, you being the most complicated, but and understanding of ways, you've all hurt me in ways and betrayed me in ways. Betrayed. Kaylee, not you. Not you, Kaylee. You haven't betrayed me because I understand where you're coming from. But my brother, definitely. My mom, indirectly, but she was selfish. My dad, definitely, because um, emotionally and physically abused me. My brother sexually abused me, groomed me, told me all brothers do this, to the point where like it fucked me up in ways that like it confused me as a kid, literally. My mom, um, she I think might have bipolar 2.
I don't know what she definitely has some sort of things going on in her mind, and I've been talking with her more recently, and I think she means well. It's just she's been hurt in the past, and when she believes that someone is out to get her, she calls it the swamp, and if this swamp is out to get her, she reacts in such ways, and in the house it became chaotic to the point where I seen her react in such ways that were uncanny and off to me as a kid. It felt off. And what's that mean, Brady? As a kid, something feels off. And I talk about this story about like my mom and dad like just aggressively fighting and yelling at each other, and to the point where my mom just like cranks up country music and starts dancing and hoops and hollers, and like I just don't get it as a kid, and it just like confuses the shit out of me. Like my mom hasn't directly or meant to really hurt me, but I've heard stories from my dad that I'm not even gonna share it because it's their story. It's like that's how do I say this in the right way, Brady? My mom was selfish in ways, and yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. This doesn't mean we can't feel fear. It just doesn't. It just means we shouldn't let it dictate our thoughts and let it go to wherever it needs to go to, because it harms us. And okay, well, I guess I will say it. She didn't want kids, or she said she didn't want kids, and she acted in that way at times. And I could tell it. I felt a disconnect with my mom. And people who respond to me in fear do it in unoriginal ways. Unoriginal ways. People have harmed me do it in unoriginal ways. And one of those ways is through jealousy. And if people act in such a way, it harms me. It hurts me. It really does. When people get jealous of me. And it happened with a best friend of mine, and he said he's been jealous, and he acts in such a way, and this is interesting because I was at his apartment, and we were taking edibles, and this is when I was like starting to be a bit more crazy with my ideas and who I was, just like questioning reality, where we're in his apartment, I would openly just share my mind with him because we ought to do this, right? To get to a conclusion about who we are as people and align and progress. And I remember hearing a loud noise in the hallway, like someone's on the door, and I turned around quickly, and I remember him. He just got like scared, and I could see it in his eyes because I was on a ramble, and I remember looking at him, and he was just like so like not sure like what I would be doing, like if I was out of control. And I wasn't trying to harm anyone or like think I wasn't saying anything like dangerous or scary.
I think.
I don't think so. But when people show fear, I make conclusions from them. And this guy also, he also like he said that he was jealous of me. And why do you say this? And why do you people? We should not be jealous of people. We shouldn't even joke about it and say that, right? But this man also helped me in so many ways too, and got me to he fine tuned my brain in such a way where I was able to think properly. Like I had so many ideas, and I would play devil's advocate with him just to understand his point of view, and he helped me really like think through things. And I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for this guy. So even if he is feeling some sort of jealousy, I respect him, and I'm just saying we shouldn't be jealous of people. We should try not to even say it out loud to people so they hear it, because it's not feel good to be on the receiving end of that. But it's okay. I can't control people. But anyways, I got my dad to admit that, and there's reasons why I was like feeling a certain way about my dad, because I was like, Dad, you've done all these things to me in the past. You like literally, sorry, Dad, but you emotionally abused me as a kid, and you physically abused me as a kid, or well, as a young adult, and that was not good because it really fucked me up and how I talk to myself and how I used to talk to myself, which was very negatively, and I wasn't fully aware of how I was talking, right? And seriously, it's not good. If you're gonna have kids, you better understand how to talk to yourself too, and how to like this is the like we fix this by ending the generational trauma. And if people are not willing to be fearless looking in, you're gonna harm someone or yourself. And
Yes.
this is goes for and this is why I got so pissed, and that's why I got called people cowards, because I the closest people to me were afraid. And I was like, you don't need to be. I am fine. And this is where Mania becomes interesting. In Mania, I am not intending to harm myself or other people. I believe the values I put under myself to be away is solid and good. I have harmed people in Mania. I'm not saying I'm perfect in Mania. There's reasons why I pushed over a security guard and he fell and hit his head. There's reasons for why that happened. If you just hear about me pushing a security guard over and calling me out of control, you don't understand jack shit, and you should be more curious. That day was a lot. Like I don't make it easy on people when I'm in Mania, but I believe if this was the way God intended for me to be, then I'm gonna educate the shit out of people so they can put up with people that, well, not just in Mania, but put up with people in general. Is because I don't think there's anything wrong with me. It's just my mind expressing myself in ways that is very intense. When people act out of fear, it gives me information and data on things that they shouldn't have to be afraid of. They can be curious, understanding, and open minded. And if you're those three things, you can deal with me. And you can deal with any human at all. And this is how we progress as human beings. We ought to think this way to progress, or we're all going to fucking die. We're gonna die anyways, but we're not gonna be able to like help people in the future thrive and be in harmony if we don't have this understanding. So what I'm saying is this: there's okay, well, two people, three people. One of them handled me very well in 2022. They called before my family members, my family and friend came to visit me in Los Angeles. This person, this individual, is a wonderful woman, called me on FaceTime, and she was very patient with me, and I was testing her out because I was happy. I was like sharing a lot of things. I was happy just getting the call from her in the first place, and it was funny because that day I was getting calls from so many people and messages and it just seemed surreal, and and I was like, why are so many people doing this? Because I was ranting on Facebook and I was going all over on Facebook, and it was quite the day. It was a lot of stuff happened that day, and so yeah, keep going, Brady. And I saw a tear run down her eye, which made me wonder, why are you crying? Why are you crying? You don't need to cry. You don't need to cry. And it's just interesting that people respond in such a way to me being in that state of mind. And I'm not. I am accountable to my actions here and all my actions. I'm the bad guy here. I'm just trying to help you understand. So I tested her out because I don't test everyone out just because, especially in Mania. But if you're doing something in such a way that doesn't make sense to me, or we're not aligned in such a way where they're getting it, I start to test. So I was gonna see how long she could stay on the line, and I asked her, what she's doing for a job right now, I saw something that she got promoted and was doing good, or like not promoted, but at a different job doing really good things. And then she explained it, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't hear any of that. I'm being an asshole." And
Yeah, you fucking asshole.
I asked her, I'm like, "So what should I do right now?" Because I thought at this point, I thought I was in a simulation, like a video game essentially, or something where I was in control of like what, like the main character of whatever this is, right? And she is my sidekick, and or like a person who helps, or like an agent, I would say, maybe, an agent. And so I tell her, what should I do? Control me, essentially. I wanted, this is an interesting idea when I get into Mania, but also as an individual, is I want to be controlled. I don't want control of everything. I want to be, I want someone to tell me what to do sometimes. And would that be submissive, Brady? I don't know. But it's not, I'm not trying to be sexual about it. God damn it. Why did we say anything?
Just words come out.
Why
of
did I
my mouth.
even go there?
Right.
Why did I even go there? Because I told her, should I go on a walk? She's like, well, you can do whatever you want, Brady. I'm like, well, I'm gonna go on a walk, but before that, I have to put on some underwear because, you know, I'm not gonna say it. You got to cover up, Brady, and you got to put something down there so it doesn't show as much. That's all I'm gonna say. And so I kept her on the FaceTime call, and I put the phone up and I changed, and
Like it was facing the ceiling.
I'm like,
so you
okay,
couldn't
so I
see
hold
me
my phone up,
change.
and like, so where do I go, left or right? As I walk out my door, and she's not saying anything, so I'm like, I'm gonna go left, and I like try to have her control me, because I'm like, I'm seeing, if I'm in a simulation, like in a video game, I'm gonna see how these robots, I'm not saying she is a robot, but I'm like testing and seeing if she's actually a main character too. And and uh, it, it's interesting, Brady, because I think we are all main characters of our own stories. No kidding, but we all have a universe in our head. We're all complicated in such a way where we don't fully understand everyone's story, right? And this is why I'm being so vocal and vulnerable on social media and YouTube, is because we can understand each other more, and I think we're more connected and similar than we think. And I think once we vocalize this in such a way, we can come to understand who we are as people and progress and thrive. So, anyways, that's one person that handled me very well. I came back to my apartment, and I kept on talking with her, and I was testing her, and she knew it, and she knew it. And so something I planted, and this is something that is interesting, is I told people on Facebook, because going on Facebook is one of the things I do in Mania to express myself, and I shared this. My it was chaotic in the house, and after it was growing up as a kid, it was chaotic in the house, and after a chaotic argument with my parents, my mom would dance to country music, and she had her eyes were crazy eyes. And this guy,
Yeah, I don't know how to even explain it in the best way, but you can just tell by people if they have kind eyes or crazy eyes. And she had crazy eyes.
one of my, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but one of the people that I went to film school with, they posted something with their girlfriend having crazy eyes too. I don't know if that was connected, but I saw it, and I'm like, I see these eyes are not right, and why are you making this expression? And I don't know if I impacted this person in such a way to for that to be accurate. But anyways, I am putting things out into Facebook and I'm seeing how other people react to me, because people will, if they want to be engaged with it, and I'll test their logic and test who they are as people. And this individual I was on the FaceTime call with gave me her eyes, where one was like kind of, can I even do it in the right way? Like one, I can't do it without using my hand, but one was like to the side,
This
like
guy's
this,
silly.
and it just looked odd, and I don't know how she does it. It's not how I do my eyes are.
Hey,
I don't know how that
I
looks.
can
I'll
see.
look at
I
the
can.
studio later.
Yeah, okay.
But
I did it.
that's
In
how
my
I do
way.
my eyes. But she did her
Okay.
eyes differently, where she was able to look one way and straight the other way. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Thanks for. I don't know what I said to her, but I'm like, we can end the call. So that's one person that handled me well. The second person that handled me well was God. That person is so patient too, because I was just like, I literally was just going off and just like just testing and testing and testing. And she is patient, and she's such a good woman. Probably one of the best women well, I don't know her as well, like personally, but this woman was at my college, and uh, let's just say she's a very influential person. Influential, influential person. Like she helps a lot of people out, and uh, uh, and the first time she talked to me, I think we were walking down a hallway, like, and she walked past me, and she said my name. I'm like, she knows my name. How does she know my name? And it made me feel so special and important. And she is amazing, such an amazing person. She's also, I remember going into her office, and she knew I was like a perfectionist at this time and very socially anxious. And she told me, like, hey, Brady, just like make one thing off about you. Like, it could be anything. And I didn't know what she really meant at the time with it and like why, but this is kind of why I have crazy hair and why I'm growing it out like George Harrison, is because it's chaotic. It's not perfect. And if there's something not perfect about me, I can step out of me being such a perfect individual and just freely just be who I am. And it's just like it's a maybe psychological like way of thinking differently. And yeah, if one thing's off about me, then fine. Like, this is what I did in the hospital. I put my pockets inside out, and people would ask me or tell me that it's inside out. I'm like, yeah, I know. And just making one thing odd or off is an okay thing. So that's what my hair is. Mr. Billy. I'm gonna say his name because why not?
Billy's a great.
Billy.
Billy, you're great. Billy, you're
You know who
great.
you are, Billy. You called me. You've been ever since every single episode I've had. I think you've called me, and have been a great friend, and you're a great man, and you listen well. And this guy gets it. Billy gets it. He was trying in 2022. He was trying to get me to eat, and we were like breaking bread, and like he's like, I'm gonna get a granola bar, and and he told me to drink some water, and he was really understanding, and he wasn't acting out of fear. He was out of concern, of course, but he listens, and he's curious, and he has a way of handling people in such a way without judgment. And Billy, you know who you are. You're doing great, and you handled me well. And
Yes.
even
Billy's
even
amazing.
in last year, 2025, when the two police officers came, because that happens very often, guys. The police officers come and they check on me, and Billy was. I was talking with Billy, and we're going off about different subjects, and Billy was talking and sharing his story, and I was fucking kind of like upset that I got a knock on the door and the police came. Once the police officers came, I informed Billy, like, hey, police officers over here, and if you want to talk, Billy, you can. And he said, yeah, I think Brady's just a little bit confused. I'm like, no, Billy, no. I'm like, Billy, okay, no. Like, don't, like, if you're confused, ask questions, because he wasn't asking questions at the time. But I was just rambling too, of course, and just going off at it. But I'm like, Billy, no. And I ended up calling Billy later, and he like he was it was all good. Like, I wasn't like feeling a certain way about Billy because of that, even in Mania, but we were able to talk about it later on. And he's been good. He's handled me very well in Mania. And the third person was a stripper.
Woo!
Brady. And so in 2025, I was practicing being social because it was coming out of a kind of a depressive period being on a medication that sucked ass
In Vegas
made me
sucks.
dull, like numb. And once I moved to Kansas City, I was like, fuck that medication. And I thought that substances were the key to were effect were like they were responsible for me being in psychosis. I thought it was drug induced psychosis because the first 2 times I've had it, I've abused edibles and I got into mania or psychosis. That I thought at the time. So I thought if I stayed away from substances and drugs, I'd be okay, and that wasn't the case. But anyways, I met with this woman, and I was trying just to practice being social, and met this woman. She came up to me, and her name is Luna, but that's not her real name. But she is fantastic, and she doesn't even work anymore where I used to go. But which is one thing. I'm not gonna see her probably in my life again, but she impacted me in such a way where she was like the flame to ignite like she ignited the fire within me again. To say, and maybe it's sad, guys, but I found it. It's easy when people come up to you and talk. I'm really bad at initiating conversations with people, and look, she came up to me at the ATM, and she's all dressed up, how they are, right? And she's pretending she doesn't even work there. I'm like, what are you talking about? And like right away we clicked, and like it felt really comfortable talking with her. And I even shared that I'm just here to practice being social, and I feel like I'm awkward, and like I don't feel like I can vocalize who I am very well. And she's like, you're doing well. I didn't even notice at all. And that made me feel a certain way. And of course, like they just,
Brady, did you fall in love? No, but I wanted to just explore life with her more. I didn't fall in love, but obviously, guys, it's the fantasy. It's Brady. I felt things for her. It wasn't love. Just want you to go pay for a VIP, and why not? And I tried it out, sure, and but it was really interesting because like I was able to see her for her mind rather than her body, right? And I think that's important. And I ended up going to this club more, and kind of did the same thing for the other girls there, because I think like it's sad, Brady. I don't know if it's sad, but I just wanted people to be seen for who they are, and I think if you invest time into people's minds, like who they are and what they're doing, I think that's such appreciated in a place where like men come just to goggle at your body. Like I think it was like a refreshment for most of them, which I think it was. And I talked with a lot of people there, and they're decent women. I mean, they have their stories, right? And it was interesting just getting to know more of them on like that kind of level. But Luna, she was very, very special. And even though the body was fine, I wasn't there for that reason. And in the back, we would usually keep talking about stuff. And it was really interesting getting really deep with her. Brady, how much money did you spend on her? She was very emotionally open, like emotionally open. Too much. Very in tune with herself, like as a person. She's very much aware of who she is, and she expressed she's been to like these retreats where they were able to just like get it out. And what are you talking about, Brady? Like, you got this. How she explained it, people could like set like boundaries, like who they what they are and who they want, like what they want from people and what they don't want from people. And there was a session where like they just let out like their energy, and like it just comes out, and however the voice is, and people join in, and it becomes just like people moaning. Maybe moaning is a bad word, but like letting their voice out, and just like, and isn't that something where I've even thought about like this before she even talked about it? It's just we have all these like feelings inside of us, but we don't let it out. And why not come collectively with a group of people and do that together? And I think that was a really special and beautiful thing for her, and it helped her out in a lot of ways.
It did. I know it did.
Luna, if you're watching, you're amazing, babe. Babe.
She calls me babe. That's why I said that. It feels cringy when I say it.
Why do you say babe? I don't know. God.
right, and then that's because I felt
Um,
cringe when I said it, and that's why I
but
questioned myself.
she's great, and I was literally able to multiple times, like tell her how much she meant to me. Like I wrote this woman songs. Like I was going into poetry mode, and I never wrote her a song because she impacted me so much. And um,
Brady, you sucker.
and I was
Right.
able to tell her what she means to me, and being like vulnerable with myself, and being like you're such an amazing person, and you're making so many people happy, and just telling her what she means to me. And I'm not gonna go into everything, or what I even said at all, because I don't probably remember it. It's just one of those things where you speak from the heart, and I could see in her eyes these times I did it and told her these things.
2 times.
Like she was like about to cry, like
Yes.
she got teary eyed.
I can see it.
And I know that resonates with you. If you feel something in such a way where you get teary eyed, it resonates, and she matters to me because she ignited the spark for me to
be Brady.
be.
Yes.
And this helped me with another relationship I had with another woman as a friendship, and she like fanned the flame, and these two women like and made me who I am today, talking to you right now. Like if it wasn't for the,
I've always had it in me, but it takes people. Sometimes it just takes people to see me to bring it out, and it definitely happened with these two individuals.
these women, I don't know where I would be, but I would keep trying. Of course, maybe I'd find other people that would guide me in the right direction. But it just so happens these two people were there for me. Like Luna, she was like, it's the idea of animesis, but she explained it in such a way where like I don't know if she's like trying to what's the word, seduce me.
Yes.
But she was like, it's the whole idea of like perhaps our souls like met at the beginning of it all, and in every lifetime like we're contracted to meet and
Get it out, buddy. Get it out.
and perhaps help each other in whatever way it needs to be. And
Yeah, she said I had a beautiful soul. That's one of the last things she told me, and that was, all of her compliments, like, I feel were genuine, and it's nice to hear those things, right? Except one, she called me hot. I'm like, I'm not hot. She's like, well, we're gonna make you believe it. I'm like, well, don't call me that. I didn't say don't call me that, but I'm like, look at me. Is that hot to you? I don't think so. And then look at these, thunder and lightning. Womp. Like, I think that was the only time it was disingenuous. Or at least maybe she thinks I'm hot. Maybe she likes nerdy looking, weird talking folks like me. What are you talking about, Brady?
I was like, interesting, and I took that and I made a song about it. But anyways, I went to Luna when I was in Mania in 2025, and I was obviously acting very much differently, but still who I am, just more silly and just testing ideas out on her. Because at this point, I'm like, she is my goddess. Luna is my goddess, and can I worship her? Can you give me consent, Luna? Like I'll worship you if you give me consent, because I thought at the time like that's what men have to do to women. Like you should worship women, right? But only if they consent to it, right? They don't want just any random guy just to be like bow down. Maybe, I don't know, but I'm like, consent is important, people. We ought to teach people consent
And treat women well, like more than well. We should give them power to rule the world, perhaps. Maybe they can be the first human leaders.
Mr. Donald Trump. Anyways, so what we do is that, and I was like testing things out with her, like in a good way though. I wasn't testing her. Well, I was. So
Yes, I was.
I was telling her she can take as much money as she possibly wants from my bank account, and I showed her my bank account, and I'm like, fuck money at this point. I don't need money. Like I'll figure things out if I don't have money. And at this point, I was already out of a job, I think, and I think I was out of a job. Yeah. So I already didn't have a job, and my lease was about to end for my apartment. So I had plenty of money, or enough money, and I'm like, take whatever you want.
and she did 3 transactions, and each time she did it, I was pissed. I was like, why? Like, the first
I
one was
wasn't
fine. I wasn't really pissed. I was just more like annoyed. Like, come on, like, you know, I'm out of a job. I told her that. You know, like, I was like, can you for once just like not take my money, even though that's your job? But she wanted to know if I wanted to do another dance, a VIP. I'm like, and we were experimenting with each other. Like, we're like, she even told me she was experimenting with me too during this. Like, she found it as an opportunity to get just like to understand things a little bit differently, which was, I think, good for her. Breathing in together, like, we're mirroring each other because she was trying to calm me down. And she was like asking me about people in my life that I can contact or who she can contact, and she actually contacted Billy, and she's so great just because she cared. Like, she obviously cared about me,
right.
in a way that she wasn't just a random stripper. Like, she genuinely like was connected to me. And it sounds strange to say, guys, but like I could tell just by who she was versus the other strippers I talked to. She was special, and it might be sad. Just like, that's where I got my source of like feeling confident in myself again, and like just being Brady. Um, but I, I respect what they do, for one, just like by putting up with a lot of people. But Luna was good. Other people that I met there didn't, and I could tell people being genuine and not. And she ended up calling Billy for like 20 minutes or like 15, 20 minutes, and or however long it was. And yeah, she handled me very well. She wasn't scared, and that's what all 3 of these people had in common, is they weren't scared. They were just concerned, which I think is different from worry. I think concerned is if you are, you know, you see something is up or wrong, and you want to find out what that might be. Worrying, I think, involves fear and you wanting to control the outcome. Like, I think if people worry, like like you can't control the outcome, but you want to deep inside, and it stems from like fear, I believe. And there's people that show that to me in ways like, hey, you should be medicated. I'm like, God, no shit. I know this. As even in Mania, like, but in Mania, I'm already to the point where I'm like, I'm euphoric, and why do I need medication? And I understand how what I do in Mania is chaotic, and has caused problems. I'm accountable to my mistakes and my actions. I'm not a perfect person, but people, I don't think they understand what goes through my mind to reach these conclusions in the first place, which is why I'm going on Facebook right now, because the 3 or 4 times I was in Mania, I go to Facebook because I need to let my voice out, and I get to the point where, like, I'm trying to connect with people in ways that I know is not easy for them to understand. And so now I'm going out, and I'm saying my words through Facebook, and I don't think people can understand if I'm in Mania or not. And I'm trying to get people to question their reality, because I have, and I've found out something that works for me, and I'm not socially anxious anymore. I'm still working on it. Like, I'm still working on myself. I'm not a perfect person, but I know what I don't know to remain curious, open-minded, and understanding. And I think if we are these 3 things and we ground that in our reality and who we are, well, if we ground that into our foundation, we can understand what reality is for all of us. And we can literally do this in a small group with each other. Like, we and this is where I'm trying to find someone I can get intimate with. God damn it, that I can actually have as a person. Because there's 2 women in my life. I couldn't be with any of them. I couldn't be with both of them for reasons I can get into. Well, Luna, obviously she's a stripper. I can't, like, that just doesn't work. And she's moving to Australia anyways. And that's another person in my life I can't have, and I can't get more intimate with. And I'm trying to find people who I can get intimate with. And this isn't, don't say it, Brady. Not to be sexual.
It's not about these two people, it's about someone else, but don't say it.
It's just like we can do this. I can be intimate with men too, to the point where like literally my case manager, I was talking about ideas with him, and we were being vulnerable with our minds, and he got the shivers, and like I got the shivers, and he got the shivers on his arm, and like goosebumps, and I was like, what we're saying matters, what we're doing matters. I'm trying to get people to wake the fuck up so we can understand what we're doing as humans on this planet, so we don't all react, boom, and end it all for everyone. We're to a point right now where we see the world, and it can be so much better, and we ought to get to that point to talk with people as humans. We don't villainize people. We're me, human, you, human. No one is above or below any of us. We all walk the same earth. We ought to understand this, and we ought to talk to people in this way, and we ought to show it in courageous ways. And that's what I'm trying to do on Facebook. And look, I know this is hard to grasp some of these ideas if people from Facebook are watching this. Should I post this on Facebook? I don't know.
Yeah,
Perhaps it could be a good thing to talk about, but I'm trying to. I started this out with original ideas, right? And everything I've explained to you has been an original idea from me, from Brady. No one has taught me these things before or talked about them in a way that I've come to understand it. Perhaps there's another person out there that has talked about it, but I have not been aware to it. I have found out ways to understand ideas before they have been taught to me or told to me in ways where I'm like, I understand it in such a greater way. And this is what was interesting being on TikTok in last year in Mania, is I would bring up these things and people would put a label and put a name to it. I'm like, oh yeah, I have thought about that. We ought to understand how ideas are formed in the first place to have an original idea. And I got another original idea, but I need to go to and I need to have lunch. Goodbye.
Okay, so that's the end of that. The other original idea, should I even say it? I talked with my friend about this, and I kind of just spitballed and created it, but I'm actually pretty happy with what it was. We're not gonna talk about it. Don't talk about it. We can, but why not? Well, let's see. I don't know if I want to talk about it because I haven't thought about it deeply since. So I'm an alien, and my home planet has found this planet, and we have a special technology that essentially is kind of like lidar data, where it scans, like it sends like a laser, where like it measures points. So imagine there's a camera, and it can send out all these millions of points and billions of points, and we're mapping out the Earth where where we're at right now, Earth, and they're able to in real time understand what is happening on this planet by pinging it, and it's advanced technology to the point where it can bend and warp around things. It can hit an object, it can bounce, and we can collect multiple points of data that we can't see straight on the Earth. And essentially, we can ping into women and men's minds, and we can essentially our mission most likely is okay. So we can understand different dynamics in the family and how that brings up individuals that we ping into this woman. Does that make sense? So we can literally insert one of us, the aliens, into the sperm of a male that put it into a woman, and we understand which women these are, and it's we're doing it with more and more people. It's not always the successful rate, but essentially,
it's up to this individual to understand that they are alien in the first place. And they don't know that. Like, I didn't know that when I first was born, but I had ideas in my head that I was different. And because I was different, it helped me get to the point where I'm at today. Saying, that is our native tongue, and we can get and we say things in such a way where it can evoke a subjective feeling from you or emotion from you, and it's up to me now to literally learn more about my home, but I'm here to help, and because there's two at least planets and these two planets are synced together, and then there's Earth, and Earth is not doing very well, right? There is, let's say, a confused agent upstairs that is influenced only on this planet right now. This confused agent thinks it's God. I'm an actor, you can say, or an alien. I'm an actor, and it's my job to find agents because there's more like me. I am an actor and an agent in the same regard, but I consider myself an actor more because I still think I'm figuring out what an agent means for me. So I don't apply it to myself unless someone tells me I'm their agent. But I can understand what agents do. And I have seen these people in my life. That woman that FaceTimed me was an agent. Luna was an agent. The woman that was my friend is not an agent. And I want to help her. I really want to help her so she can become better. Brady, what do you mean by that? She dissociates and she feels heavily, like a lot, and she thinks she's a monster at times or like not good. And she is an amazing woman, and she just needs to be seen and understood. And I want to do that. I really want to do that. But anyways, yeah, so I'm an alien. Was that an original idea, Brady? Well, it came from my mind. And this is how I talk to myself, right? I literally can ask myself a question, be like, how good was that story that I told? Did it really hit the spots? I'm like, I don't know. Did it? I tried my best, and that's all I can do, right? And that's fair, Brady, fair. It's like, hey, we're having a conversation, and it used to be this woman I had this conversation with, but because she was a voice of reason for me, right? And I could use her as a voice, and I could use her to talk to, but I don't know what she would say in all situations, right? But I used her as a tool, essentially. I created a version of her in my mind that is there for me, and I was able to talk with her and be like, hey, what do you think? And she's like, well, what do you think? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out right now. And her voice has become my voice to the point where I know who my voice is at this point. My voice was taken away from me by my dad, and my voice became his voice, where I didn't know whose voice was in my head, but it was negative, and I wasn't fully aware of my thoughts all the time. And that's what led me to feeling anxious, just not being sure of myself. I think with a lot of mental illnesses, I think mental illness is severely misunderstood, to the point where I believe we can fix or fine-tune our brains to be optimized to work efficiently in the world. And if we take any of this as a story that I said, like the story element with us being aliens, I think we can understand that the voice in our head could be a ping from another location. It's just another way of framing God. Like, we apply alien to it and we make a different story about it. And if we collectively get on board with a story about there's a confused agent upstairs and we are the technology to fix this agent, where this agent is simply living through each of us, and so is God, or so are these other aliens, or so is our duplicate selves from these other planets, because perhaps these two other planets are similar to mine, where I, as Brady, the real Brady, is on a different planet, and I'm being projected into a three-dimensional reality right now. That inside of me, there is a soul, and that's all I know. But I'm allowed to feel, and the more I speak my mind and talk about things, perhaps it's about being aware of how I feel. And right now I feel at peace. And in my soul, I feel it, but it's very subtle. But have you ever remember as a kid, like just being excited? I remember feeling that not too long ago in my soul, like at work, being excited to get off and to be. And it's not always in my soul that I feel. It's not all the time that I feel it in my soul. But maybe if I say something in such a way, or resonate, or come to a conclusion that I haven't thought about before, I get shivers down my spine, maybe, or my arms, my legs, and I just note it as an observation. I remember the first time I played Thunderstruck on guitar, electric guitar, and when I was able to play it well, like I remember I got shivers. I'm like, holy shit, I'm badass. This is amazing. But anyways, I need to stop rambling, or should I stop rambling? What do you think? What do you think? Guys, I don't hear voices in my head, but there is an internal dialogue. It's just whose voice is it? And which one? And this is another idea. Is it's inverting ideas. So if there's an idea that comes to mind, invert it. Invert it. What do you mean by that, Brady? Well, we all lie to ourselves, right? If we're not fully aware of where our thoughts come from. I was thinking, how can my dad physically abuse me if he made me and claims to love me? Like, how does that happen? Where does he go wrong with that? And yeah, how is that going to tie into lying to yourself? Well, there's many examples I can talk about, but sometimes we're too scared to see the truth that we can be the monster ourselves, right? I think we should be aware of what we are capable of, and I am capable of many things. I remember a time I felt like the worst in my life was when I manipulated my mom, because she manipulates, and I wanted to show her that I can do it too, just to tell her how much it doesn't feel good to be on the receiving end of that. And she hasn't manipulated me, I don't believe. Well, actually, she's trying to fix her past by planting ideas in my mind on calls, and this happened a couple times recently. But anyways, this was back in 2022 before I was in Mania. I called my mom, and I literally was trying to figure her out more, because with all my family members and close ones, I am fascinated by trying to understand them more and what makes them who they are. And with my mom, I started the phone call off well, and I wasn't intending to be malicious to her at first, but she became scared because I was also high calling her, so I wasn't in the right state of mind, right? But she became questionable, like scared about like what I was saying, and I wasn't trying to be a certain way, but things happened to the point where she started being kind of paranoid. Was that the right way to say it? I don't know what, but something made me want to question her more. and I implanted a false memory into her memory, or how that worked. So there was a memory that I shared that we were together, and I implanted a false, like something that she said to me that was false, and that was assuming something about her past, and she immediately became scared and questioned her reality, and she's like, no, like how she said it made me feel bad. Like, no, because I remember in those moments when I'm having those conversations that a person important to me told me to write those 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 down, and I don't remember writing that down, and I felt like the shittiest human, like at that point, like manipulating someone like that, even my mom. I just felt like the shittiest human being ever. That's probably the worst thing I've ever done in my life, is, gaslighting her. And yeah, that's that story. Anyways, I got 15 minutes until I need to get somewhere, but I don't know if it's worth just keeping on talking about this. It's already an hour and 45 minutes, but I hope what I talked about was resonating enough so you can understand where I'm coming from, right? I think the power of projecting belief and having a story we can all get behind, I think, is something that is needed in this world. And I believe we can do this in real time. Like, it doesn't have to be on the movie theater. Like, I think we can have a person do something in such a way where they can call things out in real time to other people. What do you mean by that, Brady? So, one of my dreams, this would be so fun, is to. No, don't say it, Brady. Don't say it. Because, like, I don't know. I don't know if I should say it. I have a lot of dreams. I haven't been a dreamer for a while. But I already fulfilled my dream of becoming an animator and working in the film industry. And I know that's not going to make me happy because it's unstable work and doesn't pay very well. And what do I do when I'm out of a job after a 6 month contract? And am I gonna keep on packing, like not buying a lot of things, which I'm fine with being minimalist with my items, but are you gonna keep going around the country and finding new jobs? And like, what's that look like for you, Brady? I don't know. But I do want to become influential enough to impact people in a positive way. And I think I have something valuable to share to people. And I think it would be fun. This is what I was going to say. It would be fun to have a reality TV show where I literally am in Mania, where I can share my thoughts in real time with someone, like a earpiece, like so they understand where I'm coming from, and they can understand how people in Mania think. Like, if you have a solid foundation, and I have a solid foundation. Damn it, I have made mistakes in the past in Mania, and as a stable human being, but I have a solid foundation where people can understand my ways. Look, the security guard that fell over, that got pushed over, I was inverting my logic, and because he was not responding in a way I wanted him to, which is okay because I can't control him. But he was very negative to me first, and I was in Legends, the outlet mall, that's where I lived at on that lot, and it was like my Eden. It was like my garden, essentially, and I felt safe there. And I was just being Brady, but like I thought James Gunn was my director, and I was like thinking I was on a TV show, and I wasn't really thinking about it. I wasn't really believing it, but I was believing it enough to just act out and entertain myself because it was late at night, and I was locked out of my apartment for, it's another story. But look, I was just being Brady, silly, but a little bit chaotic, of course. And the security guard just like was negative and wasn't having it, and I got asked to leave, and and I went to McDonald's, and then I asked if I could call my if they could call my well, I asked the security guard this too, but I asked them if they could call my landlord so I can get in my apartment because my keys and my phone and wallet are all in there. And they could, like, the security guard wouldn't help, of course, and the McDonald's couldn't help. But they're like, hey, we can call the security guard. I'm like, yeah, let's see how that goes. And the security guy kicked me out of McDonald's, and um, literally he follows me in his car back to my apartment because I just walked to my apartment because I don't know where else to go. And yeah, it's just he was on my nerves already. And this is where I make a mistake. Is I go up to his passenger side window. I'm like, James Gunn's my director. I animated Cosmo and Groot on Guardians of the Galaxy. He's like, no, you did not. And I'm like, and the gods are watching. And I tap his, and I'm like, he's like, no, you didn't. And that kind of pissed me off because I'm like, oh, I didn't get pissed off. I'm like, okay, this guy, I'm gonna toy with him and test him out. And so I step in front of his car, and I do a little, just do like, I don't know. So I do a little tick that I developed in a hospital. And I play around as if like he's gonna run into me with his car, and like like he comes closer, and like I step back, and like I try to, like, just do stupid shit. And he's like, get out of the way. So this is where I invert my logic, and I run into his car and sprawl out on the hood, and then run straight to my apartment with my arms out. And there's a guy there with his dog, and I get on the ground and I try to calm the dog down because I'm running towards him and the dog, and I try to calm the dog down, and I'm laying on the ground. I'm like, this is reality TV and the gods are watching. The whole idea where there's another planet pinging in on us, I thought they might be gods at this point. Like, these versions of ourselves are gods, and they're just trying to help us, but they're living through us to help the confused agent. And literally, the security guard comes over and is like, this guy ran into my car. I'm like, yes, I did that. And the guy with his dog goes into the apartment, and the security guy, I stand up, and the security guard gets close to me, and I'm like, why are you getting, like, I'm like, why are you getting close to me? And no, I think I pushed him or got close to him. He's like, get away or get back. And I get closer to him, and I push, and did I push him twice? I don't remember, but he said, step, like, don't get close. And I got closer, and then I pushed him. He's like, stop, why are you pushing me? And there was a knee-high ledge, and essentially we both fell over it, and he fell and hit his head on the ground, and it started bleeding. And instantly I'm like, fuck. And I took it too far because I kept inverting what he didn't want. And what I didn't want was an angry security guard. I wanted someone to be I wanted a helpful person to help me out. And I don't think he did a great job handling me. But I am accountable to my actions. It was my fault. I'm paying the I'm literally, I have a misdemeanor, and I have probation. I'm going to for 6 months. I didn't have to pay any fines because luckily my therapist and psychiatrist wrote a letter explaining my situation, being bipolar and mania. And I have to take anger management classes, which I think is a joke because I am so slow to anger as a stable individual, but it is what it is, and I'll have to pay for it, and god damn it. But it is what it is, and it could be worse. And I have an underlying jail term of 20 days, and if I don't make any of those requirements, including staying away from the security guard and not being violent to him, if I fail any of those, I go to jail for 20 days. So, yeah, I am paying the price, and it is what it is. It's my fault. I'm accountable to everything I've talked about today. It's just trying to educate people on how to handle people in those states of mind. And I believe I have, like, in who I am, I can educate people being in these states of mind, if we have like a reality TV show, because it's entertaining as fuck. When I'm in these states of mind, it's entertaining as fuck, and new things happen. It gets chaotic, but I think I could make an interesting show. And even though I've heard being in Mania like shortens your lifespan, because I think within the chromosomes or the DNA, I think in the chromosomes, like the tips start to wear down, and it wears down the tips more. I don't know. It's science I don't understand, but someone told me something like that with the chromosomes or the DNA or something. I think it's the chromosomes. Um, and but I'm willing to sacrifice my lifespan for the educational entertainment purposes of being in Mania with a team that understands who I am as a person. So I would, tell them my delusions. I would tell them who I am as a person, what the goal is, because I haven't explained everything on social media yet. But I believe this is a good step to curing all mental illnesses. I believe there's a way to do it through theatrics and entertainment. And that's one crazy idea I have. It would also be good to be influential enough to talk with important people like philosophers, firefighters, paramedics, politicians, anyone, teachers, just to talk with people and really understand who they are and what makes them who they are. And that's what going on in TikTok was about, was aligning with a group of people and going and progressing and just influential enough to pave the path for the first human leader. I don't think that's it might be ambitious, sure. It might not happen in my lifetime, but I believe we can get there with being connected, and I just want to help. That's all I want. And I believe the suffering I've been through and going and being crazy and coming back out of it and being able to share it in such a way with you guys right now, I think is valuable. And I haven't seen my story being represented on the screen, and it'd be interesting to tell it, and just so people understand it, to be educated and to work with people who are mentally ill. Mentally ill. What's that mean? I think it's more of a mental illness to be not to not be curious, understand, open-minded, which half the country is, and now they're MAGA, freaking delusional. They're in their own delusion, right? And it's like anything that it goes against Team Red is fake news, and they're just easily manipulated. But I'm saying the left isn't doing well either, because they can get bitter, but they're rightfully feeling such a way because the right doesn't care about human rights as much, or they'll just downplay it, with the murder of George Floyd, with the murder of Alex Pretty, and what's her name, with the ICE. Sorry, I don't remember all the names. The ICE killing people. People are pissed off on the left for good reason, but they are right, but they don't want to engage with people who are on the right side, which I understand. But guys, we have to look at the story of Daryl Davis, because he's a black man and he is a blues and rock and roll musician, and he was able to talk with Klans members, KKK, the Klans members, and leaders of the group, and convert them to not be that anymore. He did that, and he didn't have to, but he dedicated his life to deconvert them and to understand them. And to understand means you have to love people. To love people, you have to understand, right? And just by being genuine, being who you are. And I think this is what I have, and I think I can bridge the gap between different ideologies if I just can understand why people think the way they think, because I think we all think very similarly, and I think it just gets caught up in some baloney that we tend to villainize or look at things differently, which is okay. We're all unique and beautiful in our own ways, right? And I think there is a way to unite us all. And I see harmony in the future. There really is. It really can happen. And and I think it's fine tuning the brain. And I think it's being aware and conscious of what our body and mind and soul are doing. And I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching.